I'm MATTIS, MATTIS MEICHLER. I'm a journalist for Decrypt and French media Journal du Net. And we have our three panelists there. Alexandre, Fabien, and Gabin. Gabin, Alexandre, and Fabien, in the right order. And they all represent different sides of the landscape of Web3 gaming. And we are going to discuss about the future of Web3 gaming and the difficulties and the challenge it represents, especially now in the middle of a bear market. But they are still building, they are still continuing their project. So we're going to have a discussion and explore what's the future of gaming about. So first than anything, I will ask you, all of you, to just introduce yourself and explain what project you are working on. So first, you want to start, Gabin? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start. First of all, I'll put some mind at ease. There is food and there is beer. It's just it's going to come after the panel. Hi, I'm S.A.M or Gabin, whichever you prefer. I work at Blackpool. So Blackpool is basically an organization that sails across digital assets. We do things like investing, but also playing with those assets in games. So think of it as like decentralized esports in some ways. We have a pretty big collection on Serot for those who know about football and basketball. And we do a little bit of partnership on the side. So we assist games with their game design, making sure that the blockchain aspect is done in a homogeneous way. So not sprinkling a little bit of NFTs on top of a normal game. And that's basically what we do in a nutshell.
Hi everyone, nice to be here. My name is Alexandre. I'm the head of growth of Dogami, first employee and head of growth. So what is Dogami? Dogami is a global entertainment brand that we are building right now. We want to be basically the Pokemon of Web3. So that means that we are creating a brand around dogs avatar. Your dogs have characteristics, different breed, different color, etc., exactly like Pokemon. And so we already sold out 12K NFT dogs. Each dog is basically your passport for the Dogami universe. And we are building this universe actually. And in this universe include like games, movies, comic books, toys, clothes, etc., etc. So yeah, we at Dogami we really aim to become like one of the most mainstream game in the world in the Web3 space. So that's super interesting for me to be here to talk about that. Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm Fabien. In a previous live, I was working in Web2. I've been a gamer for 30 years now, and I joined Cometh, and I'm leading the gaming vertical. And we just announced Cosmic Battle, which is the remastered version of Cometh Battle. We have a booth at EthCC where you can test the game. There's also the game being present here, so you can test it after the intro. And very exciting, to be part of that journey of Web3 and all the challenges and opportunities that it brings to the table coming from Web2.
Thank you. So yeah, as you explained, you have a privileged view on the Web3 gaming market. So first than anything, I will ask you, what's your thoughts about the current state of the Web3 gaming market? Fair. Who want to start? Yeah.
Maybe we can do like
we can do
okay.
the other side.
Perfect. Yeah. So personally, I think we are at a crossroad, with the bear market and the downtrend with the play-to-earn model, which was fault at its core. The market in the space needs to reinvent itself and stop over-promising things and start delivering, and trying to really bring value for players with all the defiance that there is from regular players towards NFTs and blockchain in general. We have to do the extra mile to conquer, let's say, a polarized audience if we want to expand.
Yeah, totally agree. For me, we are currently like in a building market, and we are all trying to hard build because I think all understood that when there is no bull market, we need to have a product to be successful. Talking about NFT and blockchain is not enough anymore. I will add that technically, talking about NFT and blockchain is maybe the wrong way to launch your product, actually. In the NFT space, maybe I will make some enemies here. But, you know, at Dogami, we are pretty convinced that if you want to succeed right now, or even like in 1 year or whenever you want, you have to think about your product first and come on the market with a fun product. I mean, basically, if your product is fun and if you are launching a game and the game is fun, people don't care if it's Web3 or Web2. You know, you can have a mainstream audience and a mainstream player base with only a fun game. You know, and for us, we really think that technically you have to show them the value of the blockchain, but after convincing them that your game is fun and your IP is cool and you have a future, you know, in this space. That's super important for us. So that's why we are still building, and I think that everybody should build right now until they have a perfect, fun and playable product to launch. If not, it would be not successful.
I don't know if I have much to add. I agree with everything you just said. We just seen in the past, well, I would say a couple of years, like the funding declining for these games as well, which is actually a good thing. I mean, the money was being thrown around a bit left and right about 2 or 3 years ago, right? So at least now we're seeing some of the maybe lesser project being filtered out. And those that are sticking right now are actually starting to produce something that we can actually be excited about. Making a game takes a long time. So those that raised a significant amount of cash back like 2 or 3 years ago, we can only start seeing the effect of that right now. So I'm quite interested to see what's going to come out over the next year or so. But in terms of product, in terms of things that have been delivered and building in the shadow, basically, for the past couple of years.
And yeah, as you said, like the market evolved in the last couple of years drastically. So what are the main challenges that are coming up now? Are them more challenged than before? And how you working on to overcome them? What's the different
I think,
solutions?
yeah, challenge for game studios right now is, as I said, there's been a lot of fundings and there's been a lot of projects, and it's been a little bit. It's been difficult to understand and to gauge really how many games are currently ready to launch or going to launch over the next year or so. But there is hopefully quite a significant amount of those that have built something for gamers and not just an artifact of blockchain and trying to sell NFT collections. But those games are all going to come like over the next months, years, maybe a couple of years. And they might actually all come out a little bit together. So it might be hard for those games that have been building something enjoyable, something that's actually essentially fun. They're going to come out and have to market it. And so far, these things have been marketed with a very Web3 focus. And this, we all know, has been very detrimental to its image through the gamers, to the traditional gamers. So I think there's going to be the main problem right now is going to be for good games that deserve to be out there, deserve to have something good that made a sustainable economy in one way or another. It's going to be difficult for them to make the traditional gamers and the masses understand that this is for their own good and it's actually a good game and you should actually play and just not stop at it's Web3, I'm not going to play that shit. Right, so it's going to be one of the challenges. Is going to be marketing what you've been building over the past few months, years, I'd say.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. For me, one of the main challenges that we have in building a Web3 game right now is, first of all, making like a healthy loop for your project, because basically, you know, we all build our communities on the play to earn aspect, on attracting like speculators and Web3 people, and we all know we are all division in Web3, I guess. So you know, in Web3, people want to talk about speculation, NFT, ROE, etc., and technically, we are trying to get back from this model and to put the fun at the center of our development model. And it's, for me, the best way to get more traction and to get the second biggest challenge for me is to become mainstream and to succeed in the mainstream acquisition. I mean by that technically, if you want to play a Web3 game right now, you have to open a wallet, to register your seed phrase, to not lose it, not get scammed on Discord, etc., etc. You know, you have so much friction right now that for me there is two main challenges for building games right now. Is first of all making something healthy for everyone. That means that you have to build something fun and not focus on the play to earn mechanics. And the second thing is, for me, the mainstream acquisitions. That means that you have to include some sign-in social on your website, some custodial wallet, etc., etc. You have to delete every friction that you have from the Web3 and just put the value of the Web3 after that you convince your audience that your game is cool?
Yeah, I'm gonna double down on that, friction point and the fact that for every benefit that Web3 brings to the table, there's like a downside, like the onboarding, gas fees. So when you try to bring more value to the table, and then there's like you try to explain to the end user that, oh yeah, but by the way, you're gonna have to pay gas fee for every transaction. Every time you open a loot box, there's a transaction that you have to pay yourself, or we have to sponsor the transaction, that kind of stuff. So we kind of have to transform everything to a seamless experience for Web2 players, so that they don't even know that blockchain is there. And the challenge as well is that when I said earlier that we need to reinvent ourselves, on top of the business model, there's also the fact that in the past, the blockchain was kind of the core of the experience, whereas now we need to focus on the product itself. And then I'm just gonna double down on what you just said. It's about matching what is existing for Web2 or the regular industry, and try to prove what blockchain brings on top of that. But blockchain in itself should not be the core of the experience.
And you speak about the fact that you need to have the same criteria for Web3 game than for Web2 game. But do you think there is now for judging a good game, a good Web3 game, is it the same exact criteria, or do you think there is other criteria that come into play to judge a good Web3 game? What is a good Web3 game?
That's a very good question. A good Web3 games, you should, like in terms of when we talk about the standards of Web2, usually people like that's a cognitive bias. You think about AAA and stuff like that, and you have like very good mobile games. When you look at Candy Crush, it's driving insane revenues, and it's a very low quality in terms of graphics. The gameplay loop is very simple, and you don't have to have much more than that to get a decent product. Having a good Web3 game is a game for me that whether or not there is blockchain in it, it should be fun to play. And when you do the beta test, you get players their hands on your product, and the feedback is good about the gameplay loop without any monetization in there, then you're onto something. And then you just need to build on that. And talking about the opportunities, if you look at monetization, the most common monetization tool right now is the Battle Pass, where people they have different steps where they unlock, let's say, cosmetics. You can turn that into a Web3 element where every single cosmetic is an NFT, and you get access to the secondary market with it, and you can exchange. And once you own a skin, you use it in game, and after a while you don't like it anymore, and you just, okay, I'm gonna buy the next Battle Pass, but to finance the next Battle Pass purchase, I'm gonna sell my old assets. And I think that once the players understand that Web3 games can bring that, and that it's more towards the players and it's more fair in terms of monetization and potential, we will get mass adoption.
Yeah, I have almost nothing to add because I'm 100% agree about that. So for me, a good Web3 game should looks like Web2 games, and you should be able to onboard people without without them knowing that you are building something on the blockchain, and then you have to bring them the value. Okay, remember when you played Fortnite and you bought a skin and your skin has absolutely no value, so now you just bought a new gap accessories for your Dogami, and this gap accessory got a value and give you something in the game. So yeah, I don't have anything to add. It was 100% agree.
Yeah, I guess if you really have to segregate traditional games and Web3 games, I think a good one is probably going to be basically the same characteristic. A good game is a game you want to play, that's it. In terms of a good Web3 game, so if you really want to take a tech, which is basically essentially just a tool for making a game, and if you want to segregate that and say, okay, why is that Web3 aspect in the game good? I'd say it just needs to serve a purpose, and that purpose is something that is in the gameplay of the original game that you are solving with blockchain. You shouldn't create a problem to solve it immediately after, right? So we saw maybe the first successful game on blockchain was so rare because there was a need for scarcity. If you didn't have digital scarcity, there was no real reason for people to collect cards online, right? They could just do that physically with the Panini cards, and we all know where that went, right? So they didn't create a problem. They solved an issue, which was taking a product that is essentially Web2 and dying, that is Panini, turn it into a game that is a fantasy game that people enjoy playing. People enjoy actually playing money with it as well. It's essentially kind of like a betting game. So in a way, people are used to the fact that they're going to spend money. They might win some, but they will most likely lose some. So they didn't overplay the economic aspect of the game, because that was something that was essentially already there in fantasy. But they solved an issue with the blockchain, with the digital scarcity for having collectibles. And because they essentially took a simple recipe, they could do it very early in the development of the blockchain, even with just as simple as NFTs. Now for games that of course we raised our expectations. So for good games, now we just need to make sure that the blockchain aspect that we're putting into this game, first of all, is not detrimental to the user experience. You don't want your average Joe, your average Justin to go and be like, I can't even play that game. Like, I don't even know how to log in, right? So of course, all that, we mentioned it, we need to have that completely abstracted, right? But you still need to make a good game. You need to have the blockchain aspect solving an issue. And I think sometimes it's also tied to the tech that you're going to be using. So yeah, it needs that right now. If you want to identify a Web3 game that is a good Web3 game, you need to know a little bit about the tech, because you need to know that it's suitable for that problem you're trying to solve.
And we know that today, when we look at Web2 games, a lot of Web2 games could have a use case with blockchain. You can speak about, I don't know, GTA or FIFA or
anything with collectibles,
yeah, sure.
Essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So my question, starting from that, is like, do you think about the future of gaming that if a game kickstarts really the Web3 gaming and really brings the mass to Web3 gaming, do you think it will be a famous IP like FIFA or GTA, or will be like a native Web3 game? What do you think about that?
Do you want me to start? Yeah, I mean, essentially, just bouncing back on what I just said, it's just a tool, right? So it could be as well that it's going to be a tool that's going to be well used by Ubisoft or any AAA game franchise here. Or it could be a franchise that is born entirely from an initially blockchain project. You have big franchise being created right now. You have Across the Ages, for instance, is trying to build a huge IP, right? They're making books, movies, and so on. Right? So, and Dogami as well. But I know you're going to talk about Dogami in a minute, so I'm... yeah, but so yeah, no, it depends on how the IP is going to bring it to the masses, if the game is going to be good or not. I don't essentially think it's going to have to be a good studio, but I mean, an already big studio. But of course, they have the skills, and they know that making a game takes time. They know how to make a game, so it's basically a race, right? Whichever comes first. But I don't think it's a requirement.
Yeah, I don't think it's a requirement either, because basically, I mean, you have to have a big vision and big funds, because if you want to build like a 360 IP brand, including like a TV show, comics books, merchandising, etc., you have to have the budget for that. Obviously, you cannot showing and saying, hey, I'm launching a new IP, it's super cool, but I don't have any funds. So obviously, you have to build a good project and to have some funds about that. But I mean, I'm not sure that you have to come from like a well-known IP or worldwide IP. You can launch your own project and starting from scratch, but you have to think it really well. I mean, by that we are not in the bull market anymore. Talking about NFT and blockchain is not enough anymore. We saw that with, and even I will add that the bull market gives the NFT space like a really, really bad images. I mean, when you talked about NFT, people are now, the ape who are worth zero now and who was worth millions of dollars, and nobody understood why apes were worth more than millions. But I mean, now you can build something from scratch if you have the good vision, and you have to think about 360 brand and making the fun and creating a cool IP. But yeah, you don't have to be well known, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great point about losing. I think first off, we don't really need that. It's gonna evolve in that direction anyway. There's only a couple of giant IPs that could pull this off to overcome the backlash that it would receive from some of the community to be openly Web3 friendly. GTA 6 is usually used as a flagship, potential flagship. There's rumors about NFTs being included into the game. We'll see where it goes. But also in terms of revenue, the old dinosaurs, I don't think they see that as a great opportunity because with the secondary market, if I buy a skin in a Web2 game, I cannot transfer it. So if you want that skin, you have to buy it yourself as well. So that's twice the revenue for the publisher. If it's Web3, I buy the skin. I want to buy a new one, I will give it to you for free, or like the publisher will take 5% share on the sale. So the potential revenue is way less. So that means potentially reduce your revenues, and for Web2 giants that are all public companies and are looking for a maximum profit, that's definitely not something they're looking for right now. But if the player base is pushing for it, at some point the communities are bigger than the publishers and they have kind of to bend to their will. Right now we can see that with free to play. It used to be like most of the publishers, they were against it. And now that most of the players that don't want to spend a single dime for even AAA games, then every publisher out there is now pushing for free to play and trying with the microtransaction to get more revenue out of it. So if the space and the full industry is going into that direction, it will take time, but the big publishers, the old ones, will move in that direction as well.
Thank you. And talking about the different challenge, another kind of challenge maybe could be technical. And we can just imagine we are in a world where Web3 games are adopted and everybody's playing and the millions of people are playing these games. Is it a particular challenge to scale the scaling, or is there other technical challenge that you can find and that can appear with the evolution of Web2 gaming?
Yeah, I think, we can already touch on that point, but there's a lot of technical challenges and friction that comes with them. So that's why at Cometh we have the gaming vertical, but we also have another vertical that is developing tools for account abstraction, marketplace API, and other things to make the blockchain and every function kind of seamless for the end user. So again, we've just announced that we have a booth at EthCC. That's the 5 minutes of promotion that I'm doing. So please come to EthCC. We have people that worked on Alembic that are present here tonight. You can ask them. So we're really trying to solve current and future issues that are coming with the mass adoption and the scaling that it requires. Gas fees being sponsored, having our own optimistic rollup. So we have full control of what's happening. So there's a lot of things that we're doing to reassure both users and potential publishers that would be interesting into joining the Web3 space.
Yeah, just a couple words about that. For me, the only technical issue or point we should focus on is to be able to be ready for the mainstream onboarding. That's super important, So that means that you have to include some social sign-in, as I said, on your website. You have to allow people to create a gaming account without even creating a wallet. That's super important. And then you don't have to. You have to don't talk about like transaction, gas fee, and etc. That's the most important changes for me, technical changes that we have to face off. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I don't think I have much to add, but there's one technical challenge that I think might take a bigger place than we think over the next few years. Is we're expecting a lot from the community aspect of those games. A lot of the so-called metaverses are also building a lot of hype and a lot of expectation on something that looks like an absolute social media that has excellent graphics. Currently, the tech is extremely difficult to put hundreds or thousands of players around the same graphical interface that is enjoyable to see. There are tricks that MMORPGs have been using for years to put a lot of players into the same a high quality graphics game. But if you really have expectations of a social media, then this starts to have some complications.
Yeah, sure, obviously. And what do you see in the next years and months, the evolution of gaming, more in a general way? What do you expect? What do you think there will be a big changes coming, or with yeah, Web2 gaming?
On how many, like, what's the scale? Like in a
I
few
don't know,
years,
maybe
in a few
in 5 years, where we gonna be? After two bull markets and two bear markets, or I don't know.
I mean,
where will be?
I can take easily the example of Dogami. For example, we are building. So just to explain you, we at the start when we launched Dogami, we wanted to create like a Web3 Nintendogs, and we launched it. We launched the app, etc. And we, with our community and the feedback of the community, we assumed that technically it was the same action on the same dogs in the same environment every day. And so we were so close to the click to earn model. People were trying to calculate how many dogas they can make per weeks, etc., etc. So we announced a pivot game strategy to our community. We raised 7 more millions, and now we are building a new game from scratch called Doga Academy that we will launch in 2024. 5 minutes of promotion, and yeah, this game will be based on pet management and dog races game. And this is for me. I mean, we will launch that in 2024, and I think we will be one of the first Web3 game, native Web3 game who really focus on the mainstream aspect. And we will see some of the game like us, I think, in 2024 launching with a really mainstream acquisition prepared. And I'm really curious about that because I think it could be something really huge for the space.
Yeah, do you want to?
Yeah, no worries. So about the gaming in general, we can see the trend that mobile gaming is getting more and more market share every year, and I think Web3 gaming is going to be on the same trend. We're just going to start small and gain some percentage every year, unless there's like a huge breakthrough with, as I said, GTA 6 or something like that comes along. That's going to speed up the process, for us. At Cometh, well, we are just releasing our first game, Cosmic Battle, in our fully interoperable universe. Sorry about that. And the goal is to develop different experiences with different genera that all share the same universe, and every single asset that players own will be interoperable. That's very hard to say, being French. In any game, so any cosmetic that you own, let's say you own a background in Cosmic Battle, you can use it as a background as well as a cosmetic in another game, and that's kind of, our goal is kind of to be the first to really deliver on that promise that is supposed to come with Web3, and also it's already existing in Web2. When you look at amiibos from Nintendo, like it's small figurines that you can plug to your Switch, and that unlocks different type of things in different games. So that mechanics already exists. So it's just about also educating the audience to be like, hey, why are you so against that? You're using the Switch every day, and you're using your characters in different games, and they have like different stats and whatnot in all these Nintendo games. And the beauty of it as well, it's cross-universe, right? It's not all Mario games, it's all Nintendo games. So like the prime example would be Smash Bros. Melee, where it's all different universe from Nintendo smash into a fighting game. So that's something that is not our North Star, but that we are looking at and be like, okay, some big players already did that using physical elements. It's up to us to bring that to NFTs.
I think essentially we'll see more and more blockchain into games when we stop talking about blockchain in games. It's just going to be the logical evolution of games. Some of them are going to have mild elements of blockchain in there that solve a specific issue. Some of them are going to rely entirely on the tech because it's a major part of the gameplay. And I think it's just going to be like a different evolution of like which games and has which needs for blockchain. So I'd say, yeah, of course, over the next few years, we'll see different type of games. Those are going to fully embrace the Web3 aspects because they have to from a gameplay perspective. And they're going to be those that are using the gameplay to solve the minor issues. It could be as well as a small thing as cosmetics that you can do some interoperability with it and play it on a couple of games. But it could be that it's if it's your entire game that relies on it, you're going to have to talk about this. But I still think that mostly we'll try to avoid talking about blockchain for a little while when you are a big publisher.
And you're all working with people that are coming from the traditional gaming world. Do you think it's important that there will be more and more people coming from traditional games coming to Web3 games? And do you feel that the vision from the people that have come from traditional gaming is evolving towards Web3 gaming?
Yeah, I think they're already here, right? It's just those guys, they know it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years to build a good game. So they started 3 years ago. They didn't wait for us. They just don't communicate about something that takes 5 years to build when they are 2 years into the project, right? So there are a lot of people that are rock stars from the game design world that are currently building games designed with a blockchain tools or blockchain element in mind. We'll see these guys coming out over the next few years, months. But yeah, absolutely, it's attracting a lot of people. Some big studios are spinning off smaller studios that are based on Web3, trying also to do that hybrid thing. I was like, yeah, no, it's not exactly us. It's another company that we've started, but they do a bit of blockchain stuff. Like there still is that a little bit of a trauma they have with the bad press that it can bring. But a lot of studios are looking at Web3, a lot, if not all. At least they are looking at it. Some of them are putting it in the freezer for a bit, but they're all looking at it.
Yeah, I will add just one thing. One thing that changed really, and we passed through that at Dogami, for example, is when you so at Dogami we build internally our game design team, and so we took some people from Ubisoft, from Web2 games and Web2 games industry, and basically what it was super hard to make them understand is that we started by sold NFT, so now we have a community, 100k people waiting for us, some news and update and sneak peek and leaks on Discord and Twitter, and how the Web2 gaming space is building now is that they are building a product showing absolutely nothing and then launching a perfect product. That's cool, but I'm not sure that totally fit with Web3 gaming space, because basically in Web3 your community want to have update, want to have sneak peeks. So we had to fight with the game team to say, hey guys, give us some bullet, for the community. We have to show them something. And so for me, one of the biggest challenge will be to be able to make understand your gaming teams that they have to first of all listen to the community on the feedback, give them a vision of the evolution of the roadmap, and it will be the two biggest change.
Myself coming from Web 2, yes, that was definitely a paradigm shift in terms of what the Web 3 audience is looking for in a game, and how it's in a position with what the Web 2 audience is looking for. So it's kind of having, sitting between two chairs. You have to be cater to two different audiences with different needs and expectations for your product. So definitely something, to work around. And there's also, for some of the hardcore community, Web3 community, kind of the feeling of entitlement of I've purchased some NFTs, so I'm kind of part founder or owner of the company, and I have my say in every single decision. So that's also a challenge that coming from Web 2 is, how to put it, interesting to deal with. But that's smoothing out, and we're getting to a safe place where it's finding the sweet spot between these two audiences, and also try to get feedback and onboard the Web3 hardcore audience, so they are your ambassadors toward the newcomers that are coming from Web 2, sorry, and are helping them, grasp that new technology, and not being we're gatekeeping Web3, these noobs, they do not deserve to come, we were here first. So try to turn them into ambassadors, so that the community grows in a safe place and a benevolent space.
And now for the last question, I will ask you to put aside the personal promotion. Well, for you, maybe it would not be easy because you work with a lot of the games, the Web3 games that exist. But yeah, what are the Web3 games that you are particularly enthusiastic about and that you are following? Is there a particular project that you're looking at? except yours.
Joker, are we allowed to? No. There's a lot of projects that we're looking at, and it depends on what's gonna be. Whereas you look at the product in itself, okay, that feels like a AAA. I really want to see how it goes. There's also some project where there's like some very strong promises about we're a team of 12 and we're the next World of Warcraft killer. So that's definitely interesting to see as well. Coming from Web2, if they manage to pull this off, then that you're really turning the table on how you develop games. And I don't want to name a few because I'm gonna miss out on some, and then I'm gonna get some backslash. But we're looking at a lot of games internally to, it's healthy to look at the competition. And we say competition, we consider no one being competitors in that space because the market is so small right now and the potential is so big that if Microsoft and Sony can say, we're not competitors, we're here for gamers, who are we, little Web3 publisher, to say we're in competition with someone else?
Yeah, so without any self-promotion, obviously we are looking at a lot of games daily. But I have one IP. So what I look in a Web3 game is basically the IP that they're trying to build as Dogami. We are trying to make something 360. And there is actually one game that I like called Lumaria, something like that, which is basically a Pokemon-like in a sandbox space and with a Genshin Impact visual and graphism. So yeah, I mean, if I have to cite one, it would be this one, I think.
I'm not sure if I should try to cite them all of them that I work with, or none of those that I worked with.
You can say.
So
Okay, you have a joker. You can.
No, I actually there are a few that I find interesting for various reasons. I like Cross the Ages because of two things: that they are creating a strong IP and they have interesting tokenomics and a way to use the NFT tech to generate scarcity, whether it is in game or just with an effect in game. So basically deleting any pay to win, because anyone who's just grinding the game can improve the efficiency of your asset, or you can also improve its scarcity, its quality in a way, by evolving in a different ways. So they've put quite a lot of blockchain tech like merging, fusions and stuff to generate some gameplay, create scarcity, generate rarities, and they do that in a way that avoids pay to win, and I find that very interesting. But of course there are many other games that are being built right now that are interesting for various reasons. On mobile games, things like Sport Faction are really interesting as well, because they're playing a game that is actually building a game is actually fun first, and then think about they're thinking about the blockchain aspect at the same time. We make sure of that. But they also build a game first actually, and not trying to overthink the gamification, monetization, I should say, of the game. But yeah, any game that also relies on sports IP. So I would say here, I think you'll have MetaFight around, or FanLive in rugby. All these guys are using the tech. Kind of, sorry, I did as well before, relying on things like collectible values, and they're building that right. But yeah, for everything that is alpha related and names that I'm not supposed to drop on stage, I'll be having a beer. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you everyone for attending. And yeah, hope you had great insights, and I wish you a great week at